spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I can go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I can go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast. More specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. I am Amit. That is KDot. This episode, what is the team ceiling for the Washington Commanders? How far can they go this upcoming season? KDot and I have our opinions on it. We're going to share that with you. Then we're going to touch on, there was a photo of Emmanuel Forbes with the camper. Camper looked like the NFL pro, and then there was Emmanuel Forbes. So we're going to talk about him, but that's going to be a nice little segue into what are expectations for Emmanuel Forbes this year. What have we heard out of OTAs? What do you guys expect from Emmanuel Forbes? And then we will, of course, touch on the Brandon McManus situation, where there has been a civil suit filed against him by two women. We will get into the details there, our thoughts on that. Comment mailbag, as we always do after the pod. But before we begin the episode, if you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do, a loaded comment mailbag today. And KDot?
Stay away from drugs like A-Train did on his birthday. And then share this shit. Share this shit. Share this shit. Share this shit. Share it.
Please share it. We greatly appreciate you guys for that. And yeah, thanks again for that, KDot. Why don't we go ahead and get into the first topic of the day, the main topic of the day, the meat of the episode, which is the Washington Commanders team ceiling. So the question is very simple. How far can this team go? Is it all the way to the Super Bowl? Is it a 9-8 season? Is it a 6-11 season? It could be anything. So KDot, I will go ahead and throw it to you, and you can also factor in whatever you want to see, maybe from the offensive line, maybe from the defense. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
I probably should have asked for more clarification on this question before we. I don't know where I'm going, but I have stuff.
Go ahead, give it all to us.
All right, you don't want all of it. All right, might be some Brandon. No, I'm sorry, never mind. So the team ceiling. I think what we're looking at when it comes to this is like we did our way too early season predictions, and we were called out. I forget who it was in the comments to call us out that we should have said 17-0. Trey fucked it up. But as I said, like the closer we get to the season, the realer our predictions will be. So even a couple weeks from now, that might be even different than what it is at this particular point in time. But what I tried to do was look back and find comparison seasons. Try to see as far as like coaches in their first year with a particular team, rookie quarterback situations, and then try to compare it and see where it is that I thought this team itself landed. So there were a few that I was using as like references to try to figure out exactly how far I think we can get, like on the higher end of that scale, right? So like I started with the coach aspect stuff. So I looked at like the 2008 John Harbaugh Ravens. So rookie Joe Flacco. They end up having a damn good season overall. I think they had 11 wins. I should have wrote that one down, but I didn't write that down. But they had the 11th ranked offense and the 3rd ranked defense. But if I'm looking at that team, while they didn't have a great year the year before, this is still a team that had Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Bart Scott, T. Suggs on it. Can I say that this defense has those kind of guys? Not really. B-Wags is awesome, but I'm not going to say that he's right. Ray Lewis. 2007 Steelers, Mike Tomlin comes in, right? But then you look at the Mike Tomlin Steelers and you're like, he had Ben Roethlisberger in his 3rd year. Can't really compare. We already knew what Ben Roethlisberger was at that particular point in time, right? So I'm like, all right, so maybe none of the coaches quite fit. So let's look at like the quarterback, the rookie quarterback sort of thing. Maybe Jayden Daniels is going to be that guy, right? So I look at that. So think about rookie quarterbacks, great seasons. 2011 Cam Newton. The thing with that is that although Cam Newton had a good solid season, they did finish the season 6-10.
Yeah.
So like so it's like, okay, made strides as far as rookie quarterback goes, but the team itself just wasn't that good. But if I'm looking defensively, do I like some of the guys we have on defense more than the Carolina Panthers did? Yeah, I kind of do. So it's like, I mean, we don't have a Luke Kuechly, but they still like in the right direction. So then you go to the things that like Russ in 2012 doesn't really fit. The team was 7-9. The previous 2 seasons, they had a pretty solid foundation before they could get him.
Yeah.
Then you have of course, 2012 Luck in RG3 years, right? Colts go 2-14 with Peyton Manning down the year before. They draft Luck. They finish that season 11-5. Luck looks like he's the future. Team overall looks like it's headed in the right direction, and they're pretty good over the next few seasons. And RG3, we all know how that went, right? Like, team was 5-11 the year before. RG3 comes in. He has a 9-6 record, but when season starts at 3-6, we rattle off 7 in a row at the end of the season. You look at that team.
And we traded up to pick 2, so we didn't actually earn that one, just to speak from a talent standpoint.
100%. So you look at that and you're like, okay, so from a 2012 perspective, if I look at the wide receivers, I like the wide receivers there. Do I like the wide receivers we have here right now more? Probably overall as far as a combo, right? And then, of course, like there's CJ Stroud of last year, which is probably, if there's any team that you're looking as far as like direct correlation or parallels, it's probably the one that fits the most, if I'm being completely honest. It's just such an outlandish outcome when it comes to where it is at the end of the season. Plus, that division's weak as fuck. So it all kind of works to its best benefit. But you look, they finish around 12-14 in both offensive defensive rank, but they just they play hard, they win these games, and CJ Stroud just looks his best self. So I think that, like, if I'm looking at this particular team, do I think the CJ Stroud led double-digit win season there in the play? Do I see that? No. I can't. It's just, it feels like too much of an anomaly. I'm not going to go that far, right? So, like me, I come in at somewhere between what it is that, like, the Cam Newton year,
okay,
and the RG3 Andrew Luck of it all, right? So, like, that 10-win potential season.
Okay.
So I think you're right there around that 500 mark. To me, feels like with everything that's happening with this team, with all the turnover that's happened, with it takes a new term to learn new systems. The offensive line we have questions about, right? There's so many things we do have questions about. But then I'm like, even with D'Amico Ryans and the Texans, I'm like, I like D'Amico, but also like the fact that we have a dude that already did this before. And he knows his mistakes. He's going to learn from his mistakes, right?
Yeah.
So I say all that to say I don't fucking know. But if I had to pick a ceiling, I'm going to say around the 10-win mark. I think 10-11 wins to me would be, if I say 10-11 wins, it is a smashing success. It is a smashing success. It is we can now say, like, that, to be able to be put in the legacy of like a Luck, RG3, or CJ Stroud type of year would be fucking immaculate to me. What that means long term, I don't know, because
sure,
differently. But yeah, that's the
okay
top.
So your tippy top is 10-11 wins. I would assume in the NFC that gets you in the playoffs. Yeah. How far in the playoffs do you see that ceiling?
I think that depends on how the season goes, right? So, like, if you go off of like your predictions or what we saw in like 2012 with RG3 and them, is it an up and down season? We're competitive in everything, and this is where we end up. Is it we start off slow and then finish strong, and are we on that bit of a streak going in? Are we the hot team? I think it really just depends on how it looks. I can't imagine with a rookie quarterback, even in an NFC that is not the strongest it's ever been. I can't fathom them making it past a divisional round. Like, I can't comprehend it.
I mean, which would, just to be clear,
insane.
Do you? I was gonna say that would be an unbelievable year, right? To go to the divisional round. So that would imply winning a playoff game, unless we're getting the 1 seed, which we're not. Winning a playoff game, which would be the first time since that Tampa Bay game. Is that right? Where we had the least yards on offense of a team that had ever won a playoff game before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be. Go ahead.
The 2012, If RG3 is not hurt, do we win that Seattle game?
Here's the thing. So we're gonna yes, we do. Because
Okay.
we're up 14. He gets
Right.
hit the play before he makes it 14. FedEx is rocking. Okay, I was there the week before. I think you were too. Did we talk about this? Where the Dallas game?
Oh no, I was
no,
watching it with what was going to be my future father-in-law-ish, and it was the most awkward fucking thing ever.
Got it.
He's a Cowboy fan from Texas.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we were in slightly different places.
Your girlfriend left me alone with
the game. Oh, nice. Good sign. Good sign. I think we do beat Seattle, and you have questions about the divisional round. Do we have enough momentum to actually get to the NFC Championship game that year? Right. Okay. So you're going 10, 11 wins, and we're calling it a ceiling. So divisional round of playoffs.
Yeah, I don't see us.
This is not a prediction, just to be clear.
This is Hillary Clinton bumping up against the glass ceiling. This is not shattering through that motherfucker. I can't fathom, because the CJ Stroud thing to me still makes no fucking sense. It makes no sense. It makes no sense to see that team do what it is they did, and then the following year do what it is they did there. What? That doesn't make any sense to me.
So, all right, my turn. We think about ceiling. And obviously, even in my wildest dreams, we're not winning the Super Bowl this year. We're not.
I thought you were about to go.
I
thought you were about to do it. I thought you were about to do it.
I'm one step below that, though. I think so. Thinking about the 2012 RG3 year, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that was something that came to mind for me, right? This electric rookie, and shout out Alfred Morris as well, who ran for over 15, I think maybe even 1,600 that year. And
he's been getting props from like RG3 and everything
as he should be, because he really was the unsung hero of that team.
Yep.
Like, if Robert was having a tough game, or even if he wasn't, just Alfred gashing the defense opened everything up. Which is an important note, because we're going to get to that in a moment. I think the ceiling for this team, maximum ceiling, everything goes perfectly, including the stuff around us in the NFC East, in the NFC. Like, all this needs to come together, KDot. All of it is NFC Championship game. We would lose there, but that is the absolute ceiling. So here's what I mean by that. Let me break that down for you. In terms of what we need outside, because this is a lot more outside driven than inside driven. Okay. That needs to be noted. So the NFC, let's start with the NFC East.
Okay. I know.
Dallas. What's going on there, right? CeeDee Lamb has not signed an extension. Dak Prescott's going into the last year of his contract. Micah Parsons started at OTAs, no longer at OTAs. Mike McCarthy answering questions about Micah Parsons. Mike McCarthy in his last year of his deal. Is he a lame duck coach? Mike Zimmer signs on. It's a 1-year deal. Like, what exactly is going on in Dallas? And we're actually maybe even flirting with the idea of doing an episode around that, because it is important to us. They're in our division. 3 straight years of 12 wins. With that many variables and that many ticking time bombs, does it go as well? Maybe not. So that's the Dallas side of things.
Yeah.
With Philadelphia, they, to me, are a strong team. I don't know what the heck happened at the end of last season, but if that were to continue for some reason, I don't see that, just to be clear, but like, if that were, then the division opens up, in my opinion. You can win a division even with a weaker record, like 10 wins would be enough, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that NFC East aspect of it. The NFC South, my feelings on Kirk Cousins in the playoffs. If we were to play him, I would like our chances. If we played a team in the NFC West, that is like, at the ceiling, we're probably playing San Francisco. In San Francisco, we lose to San Francisco. That's sort of the idea there.
Or LA.
Or I like the Cardinals this year too.
You like the Cardinals, yeah.
But that's the thing. So can the Cardinals take some wins off of them and change the seeding?
And the Sam Howell Seahawks.
And the Sam Howell Seahawks. And then the NFC North. How's Caleb? Does he take some wins off of people? Do they ascend? Was the Jordan Love stuff a fluke in the second half of the season? Was it real? The Detroit Lions, I expect to continue to stay and be there. They have signed their guys long-term. They look strong. But looking at this team, if there's enough chaos in the NFC East with Dallas, with Philly, and I don't expect anything from the Giants, right? They were rumored to be picking up a quarterback potentially. There's an avenue to winning the division. I think so. And the last 2 times we've had the number 2 pick, we've won the division. Not saying that's like, oh, that's just what happens, but like that's what has happened. This is a revolving door of an NFC East all the time. We haven't had a consecutive champion in close to 20 years or something like that. It's crazy. That is genuinely a crazy stat. But the way we get there, KDot, on defense, Joe Whitt, Jason Simmons, it's going to be your defensive coordinator and secondaries coach, respectively, need to make sure that the secondary looks good. Brought in Michael Davis, brought in Noah Igbenogany, we have brought in a number of guys in that secondary. Dominic Hampton, now rookie. We still have Derek Forrest. We still have St. Juice. We still, right? So like lots of guys. Emmanuel Forbes, we'll talk about him. Needs to be good. If we're talking ceiling, KDot.
Yeah, you just named a bunch of people that went 3-13.
But here's the thing. Okay, so here's the thing. So what I have written down, takeaways top 10.
Okay.
So Dan Quinn and Joe Whitt are both known for being able to generate turnovers, put their players in position to generate turnovers, right? So takeaways top 10 to me, incredibly important. And if you look at stuff, I actually did this project a while back. Actually got a job with this project, which was pretty cool. Doing turnover differential in a logistic regression with playoff probabilities goes really, really high when you win the turnover margin. Very obvious, but like you still, that was the project I had to do. It was very fun. And
nerd.
Yeah. Just to get to know your co-host a little bit. So takeaways top 10. And then on the offensive side of things, I don't think it's led by Jayden. That's the interesting thing. Cliff Kingsbury, Anthony Lynn, I think are going to produce a very good rushing attack. That is my current thinking. So Cliff Kingsbury, 3 years out of 4 in Arizona. This includes Kyler, but it would include Jayden here. Had a top 10 rushing offense. Anthony Lynn, whenever he was an OC, number 1 rushing offense over in Buffalo, I want to say. And then with the LA Chargers, did pretty well. He's brought Austin Eckler with him. So if you are able to generate turnovers and run the ball, right? This is what we talk about with our franchise. Mm-hmm. Along with the unprecedented nature of new ownership, fans coming right back in, the energy around the team, like, I don't know, maybe, but that is the absolute maximum ceiling. It would be the first time any DC team, well, aside from, I guess, just the Wizards and just the Wizards and Commanders. It has been ages since either one has been to their respective semifinal of their league. So it would be really cool. It would be an unreal year. I don't see it happening, just to be clear, but this is the team's ceiling. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Lot to react to there. Go ahead.
I know you only have them at the ceiling going one more round than I do, and yet I feel you're being so much more wishful in your thinking than me. It's not that far removed, right? Like it's because even as you were talking about that, I started blowing up my own arguments. Like so there were 2012. We just gave Alfred Morris his props.
Yes.
And I think Alfred Morris is underrated. But I think that there's one specific reason he's underrated more than any other reason. Do you know what that is?
I would not. Go ahead.
He's a running back in a Mike Shanahan system. That was an established running attack that was going to produce no matter who the fuck was back there. Now, beyond who anyone could produce, to have Alfred's numbers, you have to have something special. When Clinton was having those numbers in Denver, got to have that extra right? That extra special sauce. But Mike Shanahan comes in and they build pretty much majority of the core of the team, right? By the time the RG3 kind of comes around, right? They kind of have an idea or they know what it is that they want to be, who it is they're going to be.
They signed Pierre that season.
Right, right. Yeah. No doubt. But this is after they tried the Donovan McNabb thing, and then we tried at the post Donovan McNabb year, which was Jesus Christ quarterback fucking purgatory. The carousel of fucking characters. What was that?
John Beck's in there.
Yeah, the John Beck. Oh god damn!
Who helped train Jayden? Want to say, by the way.
Cool.
Teachers and players, different personalities.
No doubt. I hope so.
We all hope so.
And then if I'm also 2012, you look at like Andrew Luck, right? That team went 2-14 the previous season because Peyton Manning went down. And we all knew that Andrew Luck was the generational talent. So they tanked that season. But they had already had something built, right? So like, and Andrew Luck comes in there and he never quite lives up to what Peyton did. And they didn't build a team properly around him, and that goes to Ursay or whatever, but it just didn't. So it's like the more and more that I think about the comparisons between anyone, the more and more I start saying there is none. And the reason I think there is none in my head is because the idea that a second-time head coach gets hired in the NFL and they draft a rookie quarterback is not something that hasn't happened. It had to, but we don't recall it, which means it probably didn't go great.
Interesting.
So like, and that's the thing. I don't know. Maybe somebody in the comments can tell me about some cases that I missed or I'm overlooking, maybe going back even further. But I think that there's a lot of hope. I like this thought process as far as like, even what you're saying, as far as the ceiling that you have in the scenario in which you do, they're like, they get some breaks here and there, but they're aggressive. They're like that.
You need them. Yeah.
You'd need them hardcore. But to me, the amount of breaks that you would need in order to make it to the NFC Championship game for this team would be ridiculous, to the point where like, I better be a fucking millionaire on FanDuel betting on these assholes. Like,
well, that's exactly it. It is very much you're spinning a roulette wheel and you're calling the exact number. Like that's what that ceiling is. I can see this team making the playoffs.
But I just don't see
the wild card. But
when does that happen?
Well, it has. So that's the unprecedented nature of it. But I also pair that with the unprecedented nature of what we have here.
Of the situation. And that's fair.
And so that's where I'm like, if that's unprecedented, well, then what is this, right? Can it also be? So that's also part of the thought process.
No, that makes sense. I think you have to be in that territory, right? But I think if we're going to be as realistic as we possibly can be about the ceiling, this stuff in year 2 or year 3, I think that tracks. Them just finding out who the fuck they are, because that's the thing. You're not going to come out the gate knowing who it is that the team is. They got to see these guys play, right? The Jayden Daniels aspect of it is that he becomes a mismatch immediately just because of his skill set and because there's no tape on him. So, like, if he wants to run around and do whatever the fuck it is he wants to do, ain't no defense got any real plan for it right now, right? So, like, and then once the defense is playing around that, how do we respond to that? And that takes time, which is why the CJ Stroud thing is such a fucking anomaly. Yeah, man, we get to double-digit wins. To me, that is such a fucking
awesome season, man. Awesome season. Absolutely. I completely agree with you. I think you and I are on the same page in terms of the ceiling being around that 10-11 win mark. I don't see 12. Like, I've cited weeks 3 through 6 being an, oh my Lord, if we came out 2-2, I'd be over the moon. As a reminder, that's Cincinnati, that's Arizona, that's Cleveland, that's Baltimore. That is a really hard stretch for anybody, let alone a rookie quarterback, let alone a team that has a brand new head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, the largest roster turnover for this franchise in 80 years. Like, it's a brand new team, which is why you can also play with the ceiling a little bit, as we have here. But, I'm excited to see how it goes. OTAs have been going pretty well. We got training camp coming up, but why don't we go ahead and talk a little bit about the OTAs, unless you have anything else, KDot, before we move on.
Yeah, I just want to apologize. Disregard everything I said. 17-0.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So why don't we go ahead and talk about Emmanuel Forbes.
And losing the wild card round.
17-0, losing the wild card round. So we don't get the 1 seed. And we're the 2
They just say you're not allowed.
And so here's the thing. Emmanuel Forbes was in the news recently because a photo came out of him. I think it is his camp, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I wasn't 100% sure, but I believe so.
So he's putting on a camp for people.
Right there in the corner.
Right, in the bottom right. Yeah, you'll be able to see that. Where basically people saw his legs as if it's news and were like, oh my God, he's so skinny. Look at him. In comparison to the guy who's part of the camp that is noticeably bigger, to be totally honest, right? And so that led KDot and I, we talked about that a little bit. And so that it led us to go, okay, the photo's the photo, whatever. But it is year 2 of Emmanuel Forbes. We have heard a little bit about him at OTAs. We've had various people chime in on Emmanuel Forbes. So the question to you, KDot, is what have you heard and what are your expectations for him this season?
I feel like the last few weeks has just been beat up Emmanuel Forbes time. Whether it is the memed pretzel legs, which look, it's funny. It's fucking funny.
Memes are funny. Yeah.
Memes are mostly funny. They can be hurtful, but hurtful
They can be.
sometimes good. Yeah, like I just watched a South Park episode about Ozempic.
I'm so excited to see that.
It hurt, but it was real and I needed it. So sometimes you need hard truths. Give me Ozempic. Look, man, last season left a lot to be desired with Emmanuel Forbes, right? Like, but it just from a confidence standpoint, it seemed like, oh my God, what were they doing to him, right? And then you look at this all season. I'm sure he's aware. He's well aware of what the memes are happening. You hear reports coming out of the training camp that like he's doing punt return team now, which is like you don't really hear your starting cornerback doing that if you really want him to be your starting corner. So it's like, all right, where the hell does he even slot in? I know I've said here on the pod that like when I hear the defensive backs and I hear guys like what was it? David Blackburn, we just hired, talk about what it is they look at in the secondary or quarterbacks at all. It's a tenacity and an aggression and a physicality that is not necessarily synonymous with Emmanuel Forbes. That's not to say he's incapable of doing so, right? Our greatest cornerback and arguably the greatest player that's ever donned the burgundy and gold is Darrell Green. And everyone that remembers Darrell Green knows, for most people, he was a tiny little man. But he still managed to be with, he could lock down anybody,
He's
right?
faster than the Flash. I mean, he's so fast.
Right. So there's a tenacity that can be tapped into where it's like not necessarily that he's the most physical dude, but like you can still be a ball hawk, man. Like you can still do certain things. Or if everyone's swarming to the football the way that they should be swarming to the football, even if you're not the one to make the tackle, you can at least wrap somebody up for somebody else to finish them off, right?
Right.
I wanted to say no Diddy after that, but I realized I'm 35 and I need to get over that. So like that's the thing. I just think there needs to be patience with him. Which I don't think anybody's of the idea that there won't be patient with him. Like if I hear Emmanuel Forbes gets cut in this offseason, I'm like, whoa. I actually, to me, that would be either he's doing something tremendously bad in the sense of being a team player, or I think less of this coaching staff and what it is their ability to teach, right? Because that's the thing is like, he's got something. There's something there. The interceptions, everything that he got in college makes me know that there's something there. It's just what it is that they're going to be able to get out of him. And look, even if he's not the most physical guy, like I said, if there are other guys that are being physical enough, he doesn't necessarily have to be that guy. But as long as he's trying and making the effort constantly, it can work. And Lord knows, I don't know where the ceiling is. It's just when you hear what it is they talk about, and then I hear like a Christian Gonzalez name, I'm like, yeah, that tracks. It just doesn't track with me when you hear Forbes. I don't see this organization. I don't think drafts Emmanuel Forbes in its current state.
Yeah, I would agree with that. This reminds me a lot of the Jamin Davis situation, where remember after his rookie year, we're having similar conversations,
right?
Like of what are expectations for him? Some people are like, I'll just be happy if he's a rotational linebacker and he's able to make a couple plays here and there. It's what we feel like we're sort of the discourse is around Emmanuel Forbes right now, especially when you hear him potentially returning punts. I think the reason that maybe he's returning punts, I want the more optimistic view on it, is that he has, he has those ball skills. So there's your no Diddy moment. But like, it is very much this man is a ball hawk. He is able to make plays once he has it in his hand. He had the pick sixes in college, and there's a reason the entire draft community said he's either a first or second round pick, right? So there's talent there. And when we think about what Joe Whitt Jr. said, hey, if we cannot get something out of you, that's on us, right? So they put it on the coaching staff immediately. And this for me is very much I have faith in the coaching staff to be able to get the talent and confidence. That's the bigger part out of Emmanuel Forbes. last year, I think, was very scarring. I think the entire handling of Emmanuel Forbes was very poor. We already had the questions about should we have taken Christian Gonzalez, and then the coaching staff did him no fucking favors by putting him on AJ Brown. That literally just doesn't look like a good matchup, especially when we were talking about after drafting him, oh, we'll put him on Devontae Smith. I don't even remember doing that. I feel like it was just he's on AJ, which made no sense. But anyway, so I think some coaching malpractice from last season. I think we get better coaching this season. And I think my expectation, first half of the season, first few games, maybe, he's rediscovering his confidence. I don't expect him to start. I'm just going to be totally honest. I don't expect him to start, but I do expect that work is happening in the background and we could get a strong second half of season. And I think that would be an awesome season for Emmanuel Forbes. What do you think of that, KDot?
I would love to see that happen. Like there's, when you have a cornerback that high, when you draft a cornerback that high, and it just, or any player that high, same with Jamin Davis, I don't give a fuck who your regime is. There's clearly talent there, and you need to see what you can do with it before you throw it away. It's too valuable position. His value because of where he got drafted is just such that you shouldn't toss it in the trash. But if that's your trajectory, the one that you just spoke of on him, then great. I just think that there is a defense is supposed to do everything they possibly can do to help out a rookie corner. It's one of the hardest, if not the hardest position to play. You're out there on a fucking island with the dudes. Like, what do you can't anticipate. You can't touch them barely compared to that age, right? But there's also knowing that every cornerback, unless they're just surefire Hall of Famers out the gate, and even they still have the struggles, have to get burnt sometimes. Mm-hmm. They have to. Like, that's part of the process, right? But they would leave that man out there by himself in a matchup that did not make any sense, not give him any help, not have the cohesive defense around, and then on the outside look like they're blaming him for it. Like, it's just,
which was the worst part of the whole thing,
right? It's so, I mean, it's a really low floor right now, and I think that's the other thing is, like, I don't know if anybody thought that the bottom was going to drop out as badly as it did, but that just goes to, as much as I don't want to shit on the man, Ron Rivera, there was a dereliction of duty in what was happening with some of the players over the course of his tenure. Mm-hmm. It's inexcusable what it is they did to some of these dudes. And I could go back and name a lot of dudes over the course of the Commanders, Redskins, whatever. I can look across the league. There are a lot of people that just do not do these players a good service. They deserve more than that. And you're right. This coaching staff sounds like they're the ones that can get the most out of it. So I would trust them to know if we're seeing something good from Emmanuel Forbes this year. They did right by him, and that's good. But if it doesn't work out, I would say there was just it's either the Ron Rivera era and that coaching staff did irreparable harm, or the talent just wasn't there.
Yeah, there is a possibility that the talent does not translate to the pro level. But I will say this, when looking at Joe Whitt's record, this includes being a cornerbacks coach with the Packers way back. When looking at Dan Quinn's record, this is the group, right? We talk about the takeaways. This is the group that if Emmanuel Forbes could pick to take over, honestly, like if he were the GM, like for me, you hire them. So these are the right people in charge. And we do hope that things turn around. It is still May, although tomorrow it is June. Will be, season's right around the corner. How many days away are we now, KDot?
Oh, we are 100 days till kickoff.
100 days until kickoff. And unfortunately, going to our final topic of the day, shades of old bullshit have returned, unfortunately. So Brandon McManus was signed to a 1 year, what was it, $3.75 million deal over here to be the kicker.
Yep.
And we're in the news for the wrong reasons. So here's the deal. We're going to quickly touch on it. It's annoying that we even have to talk about this, but we do because it is important to this team because we only have one kicker. So, Brandon McManus, there was a civil suit filed against him by not one, but two women that were flight attendants on the plane rides that they would take to London. As some of you may know, the Jaguars play a lot in London, twice last season. And so those flights would happen. Now, what's being alleged, and right now it's important to say that as well, right? What is being alleged is that he leaned in to kiss one of them when the seatbelt sight was on and there was some turbulence. And so the flight attendant was supposed to sit down and McManus was supposed to as well. And he leaned in to kiss her. And then there is also a situation where I think another flight attendant was doing the like food service or whatever. And then he basically rubbed up against her. It's honestly not the most pleasant thing to talk about, but that's what the civil suit is. And I think it's important people know that. I think it's also important that for those saying cut him immediately, you don't want to wrongfully terminate the person either. Like that is also just not smart. So you want to wait for all the facts to come out, but it's clearly not a good look either way. KDot, this Brandon McManus situation.
No, it's not great at all. Yeah, fuck. No, breaking news with saying that. How the fuck would I say that? Like, it's.
I sort of set you up with like, oh, KDot, what do you think? Like, that's my bad. That's
Diddy for president. No, I have so many more questions about this entire thing than anything else, right? Like, from a command, if I'm looking at it strictly from a commander's standpoint, and this is a fan or caring about the organization of the team, which should not be as paramount as worrying about the women and what it is that that has been alleged to have happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
But from a commander standpoint, as far as looking at our history, as far as women in our organization over the last 20 some years, I hope and pray and wish that the Commanders had no idea before they signed this man that this was the case or that there was anything brewing. If that is, then that is a grand indictment on them. I have no reason to believe that's the case, that they knew anything before this happened.
I'd be floored if I could just chime in. I'd be floored if they signed him knowing that this was a possibility.
It would be a tremendous stain on everyone here.
Yeah.
So I find that hard to believe. But what I'm finding myself asking a lot more questions. So that's really it from an installation from a commander standpoint. I think they're in a situation right now where they just got to wait and see where most of the facts come out. I'd even go as far as to say that if he loses this civil suit, I'd cut him.
I think without question that occurs.
Right. And I know for some people, a civil suit compared to a criminal case can be different in the sense of even if I hear that he settles the civil suit, I might still be in a territory where I'd cut him. And the reason being is that, like, the women are asking for a trial by jury, which is that to me is sort of damning, that they believe that there's enough evidence that if they were to put this in front of a jury, they'd get what it is they're requesting. Mm-hmm. But the most questions I have about any of it is the Jaguars organization as a whole. If he was drunk on a plane, why the fuck is he drunk on a team plane flying to do business? I don't understand. Like, I guess some people are more loose than I am with some things, but if it's a work function in traveling, I don't get that anybody could be that fucking drunk when you're supposed to be around the team and around the organization. Even you hear Doug Peterson talk about that they look at it as a professional thing, that they're doing it. It's a professional activity. They're not supposed to be. And I'm like, okay, well, where were the fucking checks and balances on that guy? To know that the players are so sequestered off in an area that the coaches are somewhere else and that nobody knows what's happening or how to keep an eye on things is ridiculous. They're alleging that other players saw what it is that McManus was doing.
That's a big part of it. Yeah.
That's huge. There's also the aspect of, we know that something had to have happened. Reason would make you think that something had to have happened because of what the two women are alleging was able to happen on the return flight, which is that they got to take care of a different area of the plane, specifically because they did not want to be around him. So if their management knew that there was a situation like that and they were going to keep them off somewhere else, from the airline of the charter, Did you talk to the team? Did you not? If you didn't, you were not okay. Under any circumstances, you did not safeguard your employees, which is ridiculous to me. Even if there was something that happened and they went and told their employer that they would even be okay with chartering the Jaguars at all without them addressing it, is a huge issue. The thing is that everything that I go through when looking at this, all I can think of is like another case in which it just looks like women are in that vulnerable bullshit position that they have to be in constantly. And it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with you based on what's being alleged in this situation, based on the fact that there are multiple, based on the fact that they cite that there are Jaguars teammates. They don't mention who, but like, you know, that they cite that there were probably some witnesses to this. Like, it is not a good look. This does contrast to an extent, and I think it's important to note also the Matt Ariza situation,
right?
Where we did have a punter with a lot of talent, admittedly. Like, it's very rare that a punter gets that much coverage sports wise than Matt Ariza did. But he was alleged to have done something. And just off of that, he gets cut by the Bills. You find out months later, I mean, maybe close to a year later, that it wasn't him. And so that's why also in the wrongful termination side of things, like, you just want to be careful with that and stuff like that. And there is the reality that like kicker, punter versus like eight. Anyway, like you saw what happened with Deshaun. Let's be real. Right. Like anyway, it's just a frustrating situation. Go ahead, KDot.
What I said at the end, as far as women being in that bullshit situation again, is what I'm saying. I think that anyone that's thinking that I think that McManus did something, I don't know. But what I'm saying is that regardless of the outcome of that, if there are false allegations here, it's still to the detriment of women everywhere.
Yeah.
This to me is where it comes down to that in and of itself is so bullshit. Is like, if it ends up being false, it's one more mark for some asshole to not believe them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have another example to use. Whether or not that should be justified in the way they use it, no, I don't agree. But that's still, I don't love giving anybody a fucking talking point in order to be able to hurt women again.
Right.
Like, that to me is like, every time I hear one of these stories, I'm like, it's a colossal failure of society.
Yeah. So I mean, and again, I bring up the Matt Ariza thing, not to say, hey, be careful with this. Like, it was just, that is a fact. And then there is also this, which again does not look good. I
can tell you personally, I have an extremely close friend that was falsely accused of doing the absolute worst in that regard.
And
it all came out that it was false. It all came out
that does, right?
And
so like, even the way we're talking, yeah.
So like, I get it. I do know that, look, if we're doing it by gender, one side gets a hell of a lot worse than the other side. I ain't fucking comparing because there's no comparison. But it's just every time this shit pops up, regardless of what is true or not, it just feeds into this nonsense still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or it's a reflection of the nonsense already happening.
Yep. Well, agreed. We will see what happens. This situation is going through its motions. So we will obviously, when there's an update, you will hear, but I think we've said what needs to be said over here. So that's the Brandon McManus situation. That will ultimately go through again its process. And now we're going to move over to the comment mailbag. What a smooth transition
for the comment mailbag.
What'd you say?
I want to create a song for the comment mailbag.
Okay, well, that'll definitely happen at some point. I fully believe in your creative abilities. Guys, if you get the chance to zoom in on some of these comments, they are hilarious. I did that last episode. It was awesome. So anyway.
Oh, which reminds me, we had the comment about buying Bitcoin. Did you not get it immediately?
I did not get it immediately. And then Tony actually wrote a comment, but then it disappeared for me. But he ended up saying that KDot got it immediately, and I missed it. And anyway, so apologies for missing it, but I did get a laugh out of it after the fact. So the disappeared comment from Tony was happy born day and then the Bitcoin reference. So appreciate that comment, Tony. Sorry that it disappeared. But then we begin with Allison Lombard. So it's now back-to-back episodes, and this time with a couple. So shout out Allison, appreciate it. Nice intro. So shout out KDot for the intro, for making that. I also love the intro. And then Allison also chimes in, Forbes is a trap corner, a lot like James Bradbury. And I think that's also important to note because oftentimes being a trap corner does not mean playing man-to-man against AJ Brown. So
Jesus Christ.
It's an excellent point, right? Because when he is put in positions to create those turnovers, that's where the ball hawk instincts kick in primarily for him, right? In fact, even thinking back to his Mississippi State highlights, Allison, excellent point. Seriously. Yeah. It was a lot of reading the quarterback size, but he's in a bit of a zone and is able to then jump. Right. So just want to point that out. KDot, your reaction to those two.
No, I think it's dead on. And that's the other part of the Emmanuel Forbes thing is that like they'll be able to figure out what he does best and to put him in the position to do that best. And that's always good.
And that was down to coaching.
Right. He was not in that position last year.
At all. And then we go over to Michael Stapleton. Shout out Michael Stapleton. Best podcast out, hands down. Thoroughly appreciate that. Even got 5 thumbs up for that. So we thoroughly appreciate the comment, Michael, and those that thumbs upped it and those that maybe scrolled and were like, yeah, think so. And others that were like, maybe. We appreciate that, guys. Thoroughly appreciate
I'm
that.
one of the maybes.
You're one of the Put me right down there with you, bud. So that's Michael Stapleton. Appreciate the comment there. Then we go to HTTR.Redskin, shout out. Gents, what if she, okay, I think this is in reference to Mina Kimes because we had talked about Mina Kimes. Gents, what if she thinks this team is going to end with 2 wins? She's rather solid in her analysis. Dan Quinn wasn't the prom queen. He was head coach 6 in the hunt. Okay, and so that is the comment there. KDot, your reaction to that?
It should be your reaction. But I will say, I listened to our episode, and then I went back and I watched that entire Mina segment because I watch a lot of what Mina does. Mm-hmm. I can understand where she's coming from.
That's great for you. My reaction, I don't know how she gets to 2 wins. We got to 4 with a worse team last season.
I don't see her. She didn't say we are 2 wins.
No.
Right.
Understand. I'm just now reacting to the comments specifically.
Right. Okay.
But come on, Dan Quinn wasn't head coach 6 in the hunt. Like what?
I don't know
that. Okay.
Quinn, he wasn't number 6 for me. But I don't know what that chart looks like.
Okay. I think at minimum, based on, again, we talk about John Keim a lot, and based off of the first round of interviews, Keim spoke more about Quinn and how much the team liked Quinn more than any other candidate. And that's before anyone was ruled out.
100%. But let me pause this just for a second.
Sure. I will pause it. Go ahead.
What the main thing out of all of it, even Keim and anything that Adam Peters says, but he had a process that he wasn't rushing for anyone.
Yeah.
Now, let's say that process just took a while and some of these guys didn't want to wait.
Yeah, it's possible.
So if you have a list and a guy signs somewhere else, right? Do they count to your list as far as where it is that you have a person ranked, or are they now eliminated? So like, can through process of elimination, Dan Quinn rise up the ranks?
Oh, I see.
Compared to names got removed that wanted jobs quicker, just wanted to get a jump start on it. They didn't want to wait. They wanted to feel like the prom queen. Some of that Jayden Daniels shit near the end, right? Where we were talking about his agent,
just to be clear, but go
right,
ahead.
just the Asian aspect of it, right? But it was like some of these guys have egos, and some of these guys want to know that like they're the favorite, and just through that, Dan Quinn might have been 6th on the list, but because everybody else got jobs.
Okay, so once again, I will absolutely push back on 6th. I do see what you're saying, and I will say as part of the process and part of the criteria, we're looking for some patience here. And I'm going to go ahead and say Dan Quinn showed that. So that's where we land. Like that spin, bud. So that's that's the comment mail. That's the comment mailbag over with HTTR Redskins. We go over to Deep Man Singh, who is also known as Mandeep Singh, my father. Happy birthday, son. I thoroughly appreciate the comment there, Dad. Love you. And yeah, thanks for chiming in. Thanks for watching the show. Appreciate it. He loved your intro, by the way.
Oh, sweet. Great.
The warning message and everything, he was cracking up. He watched it multiple times. So shout out Tad and shout out KDot again. We go to Todd Has a Hot Take. Shout out Todd Has a Hot Take. Happy birthday. Love the show. I'm going to go ahead and say thank you, and maybe not a hot take that the show is loved at this point based on the comments that we're getting so far, KDot.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the hot take part of it was, but okay.
No, but trust me, Todd, bring those hot takes, okay? So we'll see you in the comment mailbag once again. Appreciate it. We go over to Money Mike. Happy birthday, bro. Today is my birthday too. Happy belated birthday, Money Mike. Hope you had as awesome a birthday as I did, and even more so, because there were some ups and downs with the birthday, but I had a lovely time overall.
Coming down off Coke is not fun ever.
We move on to Vindo. OG. Shout out Vindo. Happy birthday. That's one comment. Thoroughly appreciate that, Vindo. Thank you very much. And the other one is Dan on hot seat over Mike McCarthy is nasty work. So I will say this in Mina's credit, she does have Mike McCarthy higher on the hot seat list. So look, it's not all okay. So like, yeah, there is some objectivity as well. All right. I just happen to get worked up over the what'd you say?
Yeah. I need to isolate it. I need that to replace himself.
I'm just saying that I got worked up at the idea that Dan Quinn could be a one and done, considering patience was part of the criteria. Apparently,
he was a throw in at the end. He was if she's ranking them, he was dead last.
Do we throw in stuff at the end?
I try.
Me too, but we're not doing this full time. KDot. There's a difference.
Yeah, but we want to be, which means we do it more.
Go over to Free Speech 2975. Shout out. Wow, I'm loving this comment. Like, wow. Totally impressed with this in-depth, informative, and knowledgeable podcast. I feel so bad. The way I said wow sounded so sarcastic, and it wasn't. It was just genuinely, it was awesome, and I appreciate that. Because he has the like eye stars emoji as well. Let me start that again. Wow. Totally impressed with this in-depth, informative, and knowledgeable podcast. That might have been worse. You two are worse. So refreshing to listen to. Aww. Completely different, yet completely original and unbiased podcast from two people of color. Thank you both. I'm subscribed and can't wait to dive further into this season and hear what you guys have to say as we go. Great job and keep grinding, gentlemen. HTTR/HTTC #raise hail. I thoroughly appreciate that comment. That actually made my day reading that comment in particular. KDot. It was really, really cool.
I feel so I'm in therapy right now. I'm working on loving myself and accepting compliments. So like the entire time that I was read, I'm like imposter syndrome. But I'm learning to accept. Thank you. I need to hear things like that. I need to think them about myself too.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I tell KDot I love him every day. So
I hate
my part. You guys keep. She does. You guys keep doing your part, and eventually he will be loving himself plenty. Especially when we get to 1,000 subscribers, which is seemingly right around the corner. KDot. It's coming soon. I do all that to delay because I know what's happening next is a comment from Jasanto, which means let me drink some water first. Is me just processing.
It's time for Jasanto's corner.
Oh. Yeah, fill the space here. Fill the airwaves for a moment as I drink some water.
We're gonna probably put I don't know how long this was gonna be. It seems like Amit's afraid of this one.
I've scrolled for a while. It's still going.
Maybe we just give you a corner of the pod, but we're gonna have to keep you on a word character or a character limit. So that we can still work it in.
Maybe we have a video component of the comment mailbag and just sends his video. And it's just 1 minute and it's like, read it. And we will put it in there.
We could do that. Yeah, I mean, if he can keep it to a certain time frame, I think we could definitely do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely do that.
And here we go. All right. The comment from Jasanto. Buckle up. I figure I got that out now. I love this for people who don't know who Jess Santo is. Happy belated birthday, Amit. Just watched the Ref the District video, KDot. Fantastic job. Drink up, Amit. It's a long one, buddy. Okay. The hype is definitely real this offseason. I remember seeing an interview with Harris at the end of last season, and that he said that last season was hard to watch. He has also stated that he wants to build a contender for the long haul, doesn't believe in shortcuts, and wants to hire the best people he can and let them focus on their jobs. Makes me think about this Ben Johnson thing that we were just talking about. He has said he takes this team very personally, and he has held true to his word. This is an absolute clinic on how to build a team in the modern NFL. They will beat you with the analytics. They will beat you in scouting and free agency. They will beat you in health, nutrition, injury prevention, and treatment. They will beat you in understanding of rules and penalties. They will beat you in coaching and education of the players. Winning off the field, they are scouring the earth to find any single advantage to help them win on the field. I used to think we were a higher class of an organization over teams such as the Browns, Lions, and Jets. In reality, we weren't. You got KDot drinking water. Behind the scenes, Snyder was using the team's prestigious history and siphoning money into his pockets instead of investing it back into the franchise. He bled this organization dry, leaving a bunch of frat boy yes men instead of a front office of revered professionals. Thank God.
Fire! Come on, Jess! Fire!
Thank God that piece of shit is gone, and I thought it would never happen. The new ownership group is leaving no stone unturned and not afraid to spend money on hiring the best people money can buy. It must be noted, by the way, that we are, and this is me chiming in for a quick moment, spending a lot of money outside of the cap to be able to make all this possible. Back to Jess. Our new GM went toe-to-toe with Howie Roseman, who usually fleeces teams in a trade, while still drafting Sanistril and acquiring another second rounder. That's it. Teams are already copying his trade tactics. We have a coaching staff full of teachers and motivators. If teams start poaching them, there is already a succession plan in place. As far as the players, our best were retained and the fat was trimmed. I think people are sleeping on the defensive ends. I watched a lot of Farrell playing for the 49ers last season, and he reminded me a lot of Ryan Kerrigan. Really high motor. As far as Forbes, I think he'll be fine. He has to unlearn a lot of bullshit from the last staff. Amen, Jess. And unfortunately, he has the best DB coach in the league to teach him. So if it doesn't work with Forbes, Rivera should have drafted Gonzalez. I cannot wait to see Luvu, Wagner, and Chin behind the Bama wall. Every interview, Chin looks like he wants to take someone's head off. The Panthers really did a number on him. As far as Daniels, what's not to like? He can already call protections, which is pretty much unheard of coming out of in college. He's already has a great comprehension of the playbook. He's dropping dimes on the practice field while staying late and being the first one in the building. There's already rumblings coming out of Chicago, which you push back on, KDot, about Caleb Williams throwing a bunch of picks in practice. I do think the bunch of picks was the fake one where they were like 7 straight picks or something like that. But there have been a couple struggles with Caleb. We might have found the unicorn of the draft in Daniels. I think Luke McCaffrey and Sinnott are going to be absolute studs. B-Rob is going to have a fantastic season while Eckler makes us forget all about losing Samuel. Terry and Jahan will have bounce-back seasons. Terry is talking shit in practice. Allen is rejuvenated. Wagner and Reeves are talking shit. It's not hype. It's real. There's some raw energy coming out of the building. As for Mina Kimes, she has stated that she is in fear of Daniels getting injured behind her mediocre offensive line. I just saw the end. The interior has been vastly improved, but the tackles remain a work in progress. Apparently, Wiley is going to return at right tackle while Coleman and Lucas competed left tackle. Lucas actually had better stats than Leno last season. Coleman has a lot of potential, and if he ends up being our starter and prospers, that's one hell of a draft this year. I think when this team practices against the Dolphins, they are going to scout their offense and replicate the timing. We're also practicing against the Jets, meant to mention that. They've been doing a pretty good job keeping Tua upright behind an average offensive line with quick plays, hence the B-Rob slip about no huddles. Chime saying Quinn is on the hot seat is laughable. Thank you. Appreciate that. He's the head coach of a team that has a new ownership group, GM, front office, new coaching staff, and a team of players with 46% roster overhaul. I think he has some breathing room. That's why I roll with K. Adams. I do too, for the record. I want to be all up in Adams. Sorry, boys. I had a lot of shit to say. Share this shit. Let's fucking go. That is the comment from Jess Anto, which did get a thumbs up as well. I'm going to drink some more water. KDot, please, your reaction.
I know I just did a bit about, or not a bit, but I spoke from the heart about the Brandon McManus situation. So I'll choose my words very carefully as I go forward. The things I would do to have
I know where to go with this.
the things I would do to have my holy trinity, my holy sports trinity of Kay Adams, Katie Nolan, or Mina Khansa just look my way, I'd blow up a bus full of school children. I don't give a fuck. And this is not, maybe I went a little too far. I wouldn't
We're saying that in this day and age. All right.
But it's just, it's like a crush. It's like, it's not more than that. It's not obsession, but it's a definite crush. And children might have to go.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, we're going to move on to blood clot. Shout out Jess Anto for the comment there. And shout out to Water Bottle for making it possible. Yeah, that was admittedly very funny. As soon as I read it, I was like,
Jess,
oh
you gotta rein it in. If we're gonna give you video, you gotta rein that in.
We go over to if it's on video, he should absolutely say that. We go over to blood clot. Shout out blood clot OG. I think Ben Johnson was a person of interest among several coaches they were taking into consideration, and he simply didn't interview well. That's what I think. He's one of those people that are better at OC than head coach. Is he a smart X's and O's guy? I don't doubt it at all. Is he a leader of men? Apparently not. Remember, that was a thing for us. Text message cancellation is not an alpha move. Happy belated Amit. Much appreciated there, blood clot. KDot, your reaction to that comment.
Everybody's heard everything I've had to say about the Ben Johnson thing. I think I pretty much fucking nailed it at the time too.
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah, whatever. I wish him the best in his future endeavors. I'm glad he's not my head coach.
Couldn't agree more. We go over to Artist Holland 618 with a couple comments. One, happy birthday, bro. Thoroughly appreciate you, bro. Thank you for that. And then we go over again to Artist Holland for his second comment. Great attitudes all around equals excellent content. We're getting a lot of love for the content there at KDot. Really appreciate it. Yeah, so far so good. We go over to Cody Rind 7950. Shout out. I think Cliff will do well. I think he took on too much responsibility at Arizona by being both offensive coordinator and head coach, especially on his first stint in the NFL. I think with all of his focus on Jayden and the offense, he will surprise people. Okay, so that is a vote of confidence for Cliff Kingsbury over there. What do you think, KDot?
I agree. I think the strongest thing about this coaching staff is the ability to have the mission statement, a leader, and to be able to compartmentalize things for people to work on what they're great at and to hone it in. And like someone said earlier, as far as succession plans and stuff like that, this is like, I haven't seen a lot of football teams built in this exact way, like structurally, but I will tell you, they're built like a business that if I was consulting for anything, or I would look for a track record, is showing nothing but positive signs.
Yep, I would completely agree with that. Again, vibes are high, man. That's what this is all about. We just did a Commander Ceiling episode right here, right now. We go over to the Nathan Perry. And this, by the way, shout out Nathan Perry. This is once again, Ref the District. I'll call him the host because he's just running the whole show, doing all the graphics at the same time. Does an absolutely spectacular job with Ref the District. So definitely go check them out. I suspect you all have, but go check them out in case you haven't. Happy belated birthday. I thoroughly appreciate that. Thank you. We'll have you on too, by the way, Nathan. We've talked about that in the background here. So expect to see a couple other people that are in the Commanders podcast space with us for a couple episodes here and there. So Nathan will be one of them. Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate it. And then we go to Be Well 4467. Came to check you guys out because Ref the District said we should. Good call. You guys got my sub. Hail. Thoroughly appreciate the comment there. And that wraps up the comment mailbag. This was District Divided, a DC sports podcast, more specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode where we covered the Commanders' ceiling for the season Emmanuel Forbes and the Brandon McManus situation, along with a, once again, loaded comment mailbag. And it was awesome. Thank you guys so much for listening, for all the birthday wishes, for showing us love. We thoroughly appreciate that. And the comment mailbag is meant to show you guys love, to feature you guys on the show when you guys have something to say. So please keep that going. And before you guys jet off, we've got an after the pod, but also like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do, and KDot.
Share this shit, share the gospel wherever you are right now listening to this. Let anyone near you know you're listening to the audio art, the best goddamn Commanders podcast in the land. District Divided.
One of my favorite quotes is from the other guys with Samuel L. Jackson at the very beginning, where he's like, "You have the right to remain silent, but I want to hear you scream." Share this shit, please. We thoroughly appreciate you guys. Yeah, sorry about it. After the pod begins right now. Oh, listen, that comment from Jess almost took me out.
I can imagine. Yeah, Jess. I love Jess. Jess is
hey, I love Jess. It's a good bit too. Now this sip the water, I love it. I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
As long as we don't get a bunch of other people trying to follow, you can't follow.
No. If that happens, we behind the scenes will need to talk.
Yeah,
we'll need to figure that part out.
I'll throw your comment in AI and have it give us an abridged version. Because we're not.
Yeah, or maybe get all the AI images to actually be me reading the comments. I think that would also work.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Oh, man. Fun episode. Hey, this Mavs Celtics series that's going to be coming up, I'm very excited for. Luka and Kyrie have been so fun to watch. I was rooting for the Wolves. Just full disclaimer there. Like, went to school in Minnesota. Know a lot of Wolves fans. Fell in love with Anthony Edwards and the team and their personality. But when you have two guys like that on the other side of the court, I mean, geez. It was a fun series, KDot.
Yeah. Well,
every game was close except the very last one where they just smoked Minnesota.
No. It was, but that was just somebody. I think it was Charles Barkley said before the game. Where I heard somebody say that it seemed as though going into last night's game that Minnesota was just already happy they didn't get swept, so they were done. I hate feeling like that. I also I love Ant. Ant's there's a 1A, 1B favorite players in the league for me in the NBA, and it's Ant and Jimmy Butler, just depending on the day. I just love their tenacity. Jimmy can be a dick, but I like it. And Ant, just awesome dude.
Yeah.
There was just some issues that I had overall throughout the series that made it hard to enjoy as much as I wanted to, but I'm not a Rudy Gobert guy. I'm just not. I know that I can look at his advanced stats and everything else in there. And even Brendan, our correspondent from the draft party, just that everybody that doesn't know. He sent me an article that The Ringer did about how wrong I am about Rudy Gobert. And I'll eat it. I'll take it. But my thing is that there's just some moments throughout this series that I would have much preferred Naj Reid in at times.
Sure.
I also think that I don't know. They did a little bit of it, but not anywhere near as much when they had the lineup this last game. But I wanted to see Naj Reid on Luka badly. I just think that, if I'm looking across the league and I look at Luka overall, there's only ever really been one guy to really stop him, or you could say, oh my God, he had bad games with this dude. It was Ben Simmons. So if I'm looking at Ben Simmons, who's a shell of who he used to be, and it arguably was the best defender.
One of our first video episodes is about Ben Simmons. Yeah.
But I look at Naj Reid as far as the tenacity, but also the physicality that can give a guy like Luka at least some. All you want to do is frustrate him. Luka's great. He had some up and down games, but the one thing you cannot take away from him is he's been clutch as fuck. And just the last game was just disrespectful. Just didn't give. It feels low key racist when he does the shit he does. It just don't.
That is one of the highest compliments, by the way, just from a sports perspective of what he, dude, 20 points in the first quarter on the road.
Disgusting.
people are like, oh, if the Wolves win this game, look out, all the pressure's on Dallas. And he just took the air out of the stadium immediately.
Somebody told me last night, former co-host but friend of another show I did, Keem, told me that I'm the ultimate hype beast of the moment. And I was like, I can kind of agree with that, especially when it comes to basketball. I was going through this, like, the Celtics clearly the best team in the East. I have not liked a lot of how it is I've seen them play throughout the course of this playoffs. And I think that without Kristaps, I'm not picking them to win anything. On the West, I thought I already saw the finals between Denver and Minnesota. I thought I saw it already. And then Dallas comes in and fucking mops these motherfuckers. And I'm like, what's happening? So like, I don't know. I just know that I can't pick the Celtics. I refuse to pick the Celtics. But I also say, like, I wanted Naj Reid to guard Luka. I think about Ben Simmons guarding Luka. If I'm looking at a dude in a certain height and a certain weight, and a dude that's been playing better defensively, Tatum against Luka, I think, is a hell of a matchup.
It would allow you to put Drew Holiday on Kyrie, and that leaves Jaylen Brown free. Like, it's an interesting set of matchups that I think the Celtics, I believe, are the most talented team in the NBA. I think the coaching favors Dallas. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. It should actually be a very good series. But I hope Dallas smokes them.
Oh, I'm praying for that. But I don't know if I'm praying for it. I don't want either of these teams to win. Not say that. I'm rooting for Dallas probably on behalf of Kyrie because I've loved his turn. I've always loved Kyrie. I've done so many fucking podcast episodes about Kyrie. And I've always been from a standpoint of he reminds me of like a cousin that says some dumb shit every once in a while, but you always still love him. Yeah, he just needs to wisen up. Or like just learn more. You need more life experience, bro. It's not to say like I have more than him. It's just in certain avenues. It's just you clearly see that there's a gap. And the biggest negative was he's not somebody I would ever enter a business relationship with because he's unreliable. And he has proven to be extremely reliable for these Dallas Mavericks. And the Luka him backcourt looks incredible at times when he's not being more passive at times. I'm rooting for Kyrie, but then there's the Kyrie standpoint of he's going back to play against Boston, against those dudes in Boston that don't like him.
Yeah.
The fans are going to be mean. Boston fans are going to be confused as shit because the best white guy on the court plays for the other team. So I don't know what they're going to do.
I did. I think I saw a tweet like that where Boston fans are going to be very confused when they have to root against the white guy.
I have no idea what Boston. Look, the Celtics you see their record at home compared to on the road.
Yeah.
There's something to it, man. Once again, Boston, my second favorite city in America, but it is cold San Francisco with a lot of racism.
You're not going to find me disagreeing, man. Boston is a pretty beautiful city. Like the few times I have visited it, it's awesome. It is a really cool like location. The water's there. Like it's fun. But I'm no lies detected from you. I agree. Like that's real, man.
This is gonna be interesting. I don't know. I'm looking forward to the series. Because of my financial situation, I haven't been able to bet as much as I want.
Well, that's fair.
But I have made the most out of some of the bonus bets that they've get me to try to entice me to come back in.
There you go.
I had a good French Open day. French Open.
It's funny because I was talking to my buddy Rahul, who had a horrible French Open day, but he was good across the board otherwise. So he was like, "Oh, the French Open just whooped my ass. Absolutely whooped my ass." So you must have been betting the opposite of whatever he did.
I found a good capper. I found a guy I like. And I'm following this dude.
Right.
Like,
okay. There you go.
Through the gates of hell, I will follow him.
That's good.
And I actually, with as much as it was a blowout last night, I made enough money to fill up my gas tank.
There you go.
Which is all I try to do. I try to bet I'm a small better. Like I'm a better that like if I can pay for a couple packs of cigs, I'm happy. If I can gas up the car, I'm happy. If I can go get popcorn in the movie theater and not feel guilty about it, I'm happy. Like that's where I'm at.
Okay, there you go. One thing I wanted to mention back on the Commanders for a moment because we forgot to mention until the comment mailbag when we were talking about the joint practice with Miami. We get one with the Jets. And I think that's awesome because their defensive line going against our offensive line is something I think is sorely needed before the season begins.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'd definitely be with you on that.
I am so excited for that. Forget Rodgers playing against our defense. I don't care about that. I am much more interested in the offensive line and its ability to hold up against an incredibly talented front. How does it get better? Like, I don't mind a terrible first day where I go, okay, you got shell shocked. How do you come back day 2? That's going to be something that we're also monitoring just from the Commander's perspective of how does this team respond to a bad day? Right. So I'm intrigued by that, and I'm very glad that we're playing against the Jets in a joint practice. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree at all. I don't. You got me on the basketball thing, so I had an entire plan for this fucking after the pod, but we have to wrap up probably soon.
Oh, no. Let's go for it. What you got?
How was your birthday? What'd you do?
Oh, actually, this is good because this will be a good stopping point.
Okay.
So you probably need.
You're still alive, so I'm glad no OD. The fentanyl stayed away.
I'm still alive. Well, okay. I'm gonna get very honest on this after the pod, so you guys are gonna get to know. A-Train made an appearance for sure. Sans the coke, just to be clear. Okay, because I think some people are just like, oh yeah, he's just a coked up co-host. No. Okay, it's a running bit, but no, I don't do coke. However, the birthday was a lot of fun, and it definitely got out of hand. So here's the context. So last year, let me take a step back. I had dinner with the family on the actual birthday, and that was very nice. Met up with Matt Regan, former co-host of the show. He was on the draft episode. And we went to a bar. It was me, Matt, his wife, Lena, a friend of ours, Lauren, and one other guy, Javi. Great guy. So that was Friday. And then Saturday, here's what happened. And Matt doesn't know this part, but basically for Sunday morning, we had a golf match, 9 holes over at Rock Creek. Whoever wins the loser needs to pay for a night out. Okay.
I was about to say 9 holes. What are you guys doing?
Well, oh, jeez. Of golf. And so a year and a half ago, we had made a bet that we were going to play golf on Earth Day. I had basically never played golf in my life. He had grown up playing a little bit up until the age of 12, 13 and stopped. Mm-hmm. And so to make it interesting and to get me to practice, we made what was initially a $500 bet that eventually reduced to a night out of drinks and on this match. And I practiced and I practiced and I practiced. I never got a lesson. My ego wouldn't allow me to, and I really should have because I lost. I practiced so much. It was a humiliating loss, in my opinion. It was very frustrating. And so we decided to do a rematch this year, which happened on Sunday. So Friday night, nice birthday. Saturday, we also had caddies, just to be clear. Like, we each chose one friend that would be the caddy. So,
extra holes.
What'd you say?
Extra holes.
I'm going to let that one go. So, my caddy and I, Yoni, for those that I already feel bad because I need to be able to say what happened, but Yoni was also on the draft special. He was on very briefly after we'd taken Jayden. So we went to Rock Creek and we planned out how we were going to attack each hole. This is the part Matt doesn't know, is that the day before the match, we actually played 9 holes to figure out what the best strategy was to win. Okay. So that happens. We lose track of time. We had a couple drinks and then I'm like, oh shit, here comes the coked up energy. Oh shit, I need to get home. I need to quickly eat. DC United game is happening. You can already feel me speeding up the conversation. So that happens where I get home, I quickly eat some food, and I run over to the DC United game. I don't drink at the DC United game, knowing that a few of us are going to meet up at Dacha in Navy Yard after that. So we get to Dacha. Matt Regan's there. Few other friends are there as well.
You invited me to come to that.
And I invited you to come. And I intentionally do stuff like that last minute. I don't like, believe it or not, like, a planned event for me a week down the line or even days down the line. So I just do a last minute, and whoever's available, I'm more than happy with that. And we ended up getting a great turnout. Like for me, 15 people when I set that out like 3 hours before was awesome. But it was, Matt started talking and he was like, chirping a little bit. And he's like, oh man, this very mentally weak. I'm going to beat him. I haven't even swung a club, not worried about it. And I can't say anything because I've lost to him last year. And so he's chirping. People are laughing, having a good time. I'm like, okay. But I'm like, I really want to fucking win. And we're all hanging out. And then Matt leaves at around 11:30. We move to another bar. Okay. My caddy's there. His caddy's there. Shout out Chris Bowerbank. And at that bar is where A-Train appears and all hell breaks loose. I am taking shots. I'm drinking mixed drinks to the max, like doing all that. I leave at 2 a.m. I go home. I have a frozen meal. The match is at 9:45 a.m. the next day. And for the first time in years, I puke because of alcohol. And I'm just miserable. I'm like, oh my God. Oh. And then go back to bed. I'm groaning, moaning. Turns out there was a little more left. That happened one more time. Fortunately, I'd set alarms earlier in the day for this match. So, wake up. I get a text from a friend. Good luck. By the way, I'm a bit worried Yoni may not make your match. I was like, what do you mean? It's like, well, he was also KO'd in a similar situation to you. And I was like, oh, Jesus. So I'd also left the golf clubs with Yoni because he was just going to drive us up and we were going to go. But yeah, they didn't quite work out the way I thought it would. So I get on the metro immediately, already just like in an absolute daze, run to Walgreens, get a couple Gatorades, get a pack of gum, go over to his place. He's in an apartment. I'm banging on the door. I'm like, Yoni, we got to go. He never wakes up. I'm like, oh, fuck. I got an Uber. We got to rig clubs, all that jazz. I get over there. Matt's warmed up. His caddy warmed up in a full caddy suit. I'll send you the photo.
And lubed up too.
And so my story's the accurate one, just to be clear for the audience. You feel free to go with KDots if you want to.
But you didn't have your extra hole.
I didn't have my extra hole. And so I take one shot with the pitching wedge. I'm like, all right, I'm good to go. Because the guy's like, you guys need to tee off right now. It is 9:45 when I got there. Fast forward, I smoke Matt Regan. I beat him by a lot, which was awesome. I then go to his place, chill a little bit, go over to Yoni's. And a couple things happened. One, I was banging on the wrong door. It was actually the door next to him. That was his apartment. Mm-hmm. So I was, I was banging on the wrong door. Fortunately, I think that person was out of town, so it didn't get disturbed. And then told Yoni what happened. He was cracking up. We ended up having a great time. But that hangover did not lift until around 9 p.m. that night. It was brutal. So the birthday weekend was awesome. It was a lot of fun, but it was also fairly chaotic of my own doing, of course. But that's how my birthday was.
So my takeaways. Glad you had a wonderful birthday weekend. I'm glad you celebrated 3 days of birthday like you're a bad bitch. It's like a fucking bachelorette in Nashville, you son of a bitch. Like, it's my birthday weekend. Like, what? Did you have sashes? To tell me all the things you did, just like every other fucking story, to not think cocaine is involved. How dumb do you think I am?
There's no
3 days. 3 days. You're running from this place to that place. You're banging on fucking doors. You talk about being hungover, and then you smoke the dude that you can't beat and fucking go. It's bullshit. This is nothing but cocaine.
No. I have a point there. After you're done,
up to the max. Then the biggest red flag, which is when you texted me about, hey, we're meeting up in Dacha. You know the only thing I thought? That motherfucker's doing lines right now. Who the fuck invites somebody that he knows lives like an hour and a half away to come hang out? I'm like, This motherfucker's on a binge. I am not getting involved. I say no to drugs. I say no, unless it's marijuana. And unless I'm on death's door, then heroin will probably be something I try. But until then, I just say no. So like the idea, you got 15 people together? I know. And you know why? Because them lines were coming. Everybody lined right up to do their lines. Like, yeah, okay. All right, cool. Great. When I hear about the fucking big drug bust that happens in the Navy Yard, I want to know who's involved. Okay, I want to know.
To be clear, one, I'm in Waterfront. Big difference between Waterfront and Navy Yard. I don't need the Navy Yard stigma on me.
Front. I mean, you got to have your empire that looks down upon the wall.
Secondly, it must be said, I think yakking the night before was the best thing that could have happened for that golf match for me, because it hurt to think. So oftentimes in golf, the toughest thing, you're your own worst enemy, because you're overthinking the swing as you're on the top of your backswing. You're like, oh boy, like, am I doing this right? I can see my shadow. I couldn't think. It hurt too much. So I was just like, a ball hit. That was it. And I did that, and I shot one of my best rounds ever, and it just worked. So I think that actually helped a whole lot. Someone told me that I might just have ecstasy in my body at all times. So like maybe there is something to this coke idea that I'm just coked up constantly without actually doing it. But
just gotta throw yourself out.
That's no, that's not it. You drug test me now, buddy. I'm telling you.
Happiness and confidence, talking more, feeling energetic and alert, anxiety, paranoia, irritability and agitation. I think the banging on the door solves that one. Headaches, dizziness, feeling physically strong and mentally sharp. Not necessarily one of those. You check one or the other. Once again, you don't feel all of the symptoms at once. Reduced appetite, dry mouth, enlarged pupil.
Oh my God, I do have a dry mouth right now.
Uh-huh.
Pupils aren't that big though.
Higher body temperature, increased sex drive, which makes sense. I did hear there was an STD bump in the DMV over the last few days. Insomnia, unpredictable, violent, or aggressive behavior, indifference to pain. Indifference to pain, we've seen you break a body part and still play a soccer game. I'm just saying, nothing. We're not dumb. You think we're dumb. We're not dumb. We know what's happening. It's okay.
I'm just an excited.
We're here when you decide that enough's enough. Like, how old are you now?
I'm 33.
So I got 2 years on you. And maybe come 34, 35, we can have a serious talk about what it is you need to do.
If we weren't running up against a hard stop, we could have that serious talk now. But I'm telling you,
you're not ready. It'd be a waste of time. You can't. No, it'd be a waste of time. I just watched the Amy Winehouse movie the other day. It's fucking god awful, but I love her as an artist. I adore her as an artist, right? But the one thing you learn about people with their addictions and everything, to keep it real with you guys, it's only up to that person when they've either hit rock bottom or they just decided enough's enough. With that lavish fucking penthouse apartment you have.
Keep saying that.
Amit, do me a favor. What's the water look like out there? So the
I can't see water from here.
Look, he's doing too good, guys. He's doing too good in life. Like, if you see Amit around, punch him. Do something. We need to bring him down a notch. All right, we need to bring him down so he can come to terms with his issue.
Speaking of issues, we've blasted past the hard stop, and that was my fault once again. That's on me. But we thoroughly appreciate you guys for listening. KDot, thank you for the takeaways. I thoroughly appreciate that. Once again, I do not do coke, but this fictitious.
We're sick of the lies. All right, everybody, bye. Have a good.
In DC, we're just hoping that you live.